Hello, this is Michael Selak and Star Interview. I have a great honor in introducing an international MC, moderator, speaker, and host, Lovelda Vincenzi. Hello.
Hey!
Hi, Lovelda. So thank you for visiting this interview. You are doing a great job internationally throughout the globe, and it's really exciting. So please tell us what you are doing right now.
Oh, well, right now I'm in a little bit of a pause position because there's this little virus going around, but as soon as it gets out of my way, I'll be right back on those stages. So I interview, well, moderating and hosting is basically introducing speakers onto stages. I get to kind of be that person that's like, hey, here's the next person who's coming to the stage. So it's always interesting for me to be introduced because I'm normally the person doing the introductions. And then in doing that, I got a little bee in my bonnet, let's say, because I noticed I was introducing lots of guys. And Michael, don't worry, I have nothing against men. I think they're fabulous. It's just when I'm on an international stage and we're talking about topics that have an impact on the world, I just feel like it's an imbalanced conversation and we don't get a fair perspective and a rounded dialogue if the panel or the people that I'm introducing are predominantly men. So I just wanted to see more diversity on those stages. And when I went away and investigated it, I was like, because I thought I know lots of female speakers. Like, surely it's not that difficult. This world I'm in, I know loads of women who are great on stages. I don't understand why organizers aren't picking more women up. Turns out it's because they find them really difficult to find, which I thought was a load of rubbish.
Wow.
So I went away and thought, yeah, that just feels like that's a nice excuse that women are quite difficult to find. So I started pulling together women in a group I called World Class Female Speakers. Didn't realize it was going to end up being a company of its own right. But I pulled it together just to understand what was going on. So I thought, right, if I get a bunch of women together who are speakers, we can probably figure this out. It's probably just one big mistake.
No. I think it's really awesome because you are getting things in balance and bringing more women to speak on stages and interviews and so on. That's a great idea. So I read about you that you are creating an experience from otherwise boring event. So tell me about that.
So for me, the sort of an event organizer that tends to hire me is one that's looking to have something that people remember. And it probably started the first event I did where I really let loose as Lovelda. So I'm known for being the person who's on the stage, dancing, getting the audience involved. Like I can't help but want to bring some sort of pizzazz to an event. So when you watch my show reel, you'll see there's lots of stuff of me jumping up and down and dancing across the stage. I also do serious panels.
Really?
Yeah, I can sit down and have that kind of serious panel discussion. But I'm not the sort of person that you would hire for, let's say, the BBC type dialogue where it's, that kind of, I can do serious, but I have to throw a joke in. So I did. I'll give you an example. I was doing this event in Paris earlier on this year on climate change. And I was interviewing an incredible man called Boyan Slat. You should look him up. Amazing. And he's on a mission to clean up the oceans. And so as I'm interviewing him, he's got these I can't remember what he calls them, these machines, let's say, that are designed to help clean the oceans and the rivers, because he realized that most of the stuff getting into the oceans was starting in the rivers. And so I said to him, so what is it like? Is it like one of those hand things, that you see in the arcades that comes in and it just kind of grabs the rubbish out? Like, I know it's not like that. He laughed at me and said, we should probably have you in our product development team. And I said, you probably really don't want that because that is the best of my ideas. But that's the sort of energy that I will bring to an event. I just, I think people want to have a little bit of entertainment and a bit of laughter. And after a while, watching a discussion that's kind of 2D gets a bit boring. They kind of want something that's going to surprise them a little bit, but still have that educational impact. So I'm not just giving you punchlines and jokes, but yeah, I'm probably going to do something silly on the stage. It's just fun for me.
And that's great. I love it because I saw a couple of your videos, and it's really exciting that you bring the energy to the stage. You are basically energizing all the people, be it 200 or 4,000 people on the audience.
Well, there's one thing. If you've come to a Lovelda event, you will not forget me. You'll either love me or you'll hate me, but I will be remembered.
Perfect, perfect. So it's great capability. So tell me how you developed it. It's interesting. You basically started at an early age and then developed your skills and then moved to London. And please tell me something about your history.
So I had a really international upbringing. I was born in the Bahamas. I grew up in Papua New Guinea in the South Pacific, and then I moved to the UK when I was about 16, 17, something like that. And when I was living in Papua New Guinea, I was on stages all the time. So we used to do these like incredible productions in, the local theater.
Mhm.
And I was always the person who was like applying for that. If there was a debate club, I was right in there. Right? I
Wow.
was not a shy kid. I didn't do as much of it through high school and university per se. I did a lot of speaking. My first job, I was speaking on stages internationally for Microsoft. So I always had it, but I didn't realize there was this hosting thing, right? So I was that kid that was a bit loud, a bit bossy. It was like two of my mother's major complaints of either you're too loud, you're too bossy. But apparently it plays really well into emceeing because you kind of have to have that energy and a bit of vibrance to you. You need to be able to be the person who's okay with cutting somebody off to say, right, we're totally out of time and we need to move on. It's not about doing it in a rude manner, but you can't kind of sit back and not take control.
Mhm.
You've got to be that person who's quite happy at taking control at whatever goes on in the stage. And sometimes it goes off on a tangent and you've got to be okay with kind of flying with the punches a little bit there. So I think I accidentally stumbled into something that pulled on a lot of my natural talents.
Uh-huh.
I enjoyed it. And because it pulls on my natural talents, it's something that happens really quite easily for me. But for the first few years, I'll be honest, I didn't take it seriously. It was too easy.
Mhm, mhm.
It was kind of too easy. It was only when I started seeing other hosts and realized that stuff that seemed really obvious to me that was quite natural. I could kind of see people stumbling up on things. And I thought, well, why would you do it like that? Why would you sit like that? Did you not get that the audience was like this? And I would speak to organizers when I'd show up and they're like, my God, you're really organized. And I thought, how the hell does everybody else show up? Like, I don't know. I'm sitting there going, I don't know how anybody can turn up to do something like this without any notes, without the timelines, like without what are they doing?
Wow.
So I think I started to see a gap in the market, and then I started to recognize that my skill set really has a place. But it's interesting. I think it's a commonality, particularly across women, that if something's really easy, we almost just take it for granted that it's a thing. It's like, it must be hard. This is too easy. I can't charge for it.
Okay.
I'm like, if it's really easy, I definitely want to charge for it. If it's really hard, I want to pay for
Mhm.
it.
So basically you learn that it's something of a value and that you can bring some of your personality and the specialties to the audiences and to the events and basically created your own basically personality and brought it to the market. So tell me about that, how it evolved.
So it evolved because I think the first step was I did a event with a friend of mine, actually. And when I did the event afterwards, they'd said to me, somebody came to me afterwards and said, oh, you're really good. How much do you charge? And that was the first time it occurred to me I could charge for this. Like, up until then, I didn't realize it was a thing I could charge for, right? And then what happened is, I think fast forward a few months, somebody contacted me out of the blue on LinkedIn and said, I saw your profile. I'd like for you to come, I was wondering if you'd come host my event. And I was like, okay, so this is a thing. And the final one was the first time I got picked up internationally for a speaking gig. And then I thought, oh, okay, so people are finding me. I really haven't put a huge amount of effort into being found for this. What would happen if I told people this is what I do? And that's pretty much where it took off from.
Wow, that's great, because then you discovered your value, and that you could do it internationally, and that it's something valuable. And at the same time, you found that basically there are not so many women out there, yeah, doing the same. So you created something special. You are the founder of the world-class female speakers. So tell me about that organization.
So, World Class Female Speakers started because I was on stage and I was actually doing emceeing an all female event, and I was moderating a panel discussion. And we'd gone to the audience for some questions, and one of the ladies innocently asked something about how to get on stages. And I found myself on my own personal soapbox, pretty much taking over the stage, kind of saying, "You ladies, you need to do more. You need to get on more stages." And I caught myself in the middle of it and thought, shoot, Lovelda, shut up. Like, this is not your event. It's not your stage. Like, shut up. She asked an innocent question. But it stuck with me. So I went away to investigate what was causing this problem, discovered that speakers, well, event organizers were saying women were harder to find. I thought it was a load of rubbish. So I got a bunch of women together to find out what the problem was. And it was only when I started working with a few of these or looking at some of their profiles that I realized that these organizers really weren't lying. So the biggest problem I saw was if I go onto Google and I start searching for speakers in any category, whether it's Google or on YouTube, I will find a lot of male speakers. And then I will really have to dig to find the female equivalent. And I thought, well, that's totally in our power to change, right? Like, this is
Yeah.
just pure marketing and sales. Like, we're just missing a total trick. And that's why women are harder to find.
And why do you think that women don't go to this type of work, that they are not using it as their promotion, or their basically main occupancy? It's interesting, yeah, that it's really lacking the power of basically speaking to the world, yeah, because I believe that women are awesome, and they are great and fantastic, and that they can really bring some new ideas to the world, and also the needed balance.
Mm-hmm. I just think they haven't thought about it, right? So it's really weird. A lot of the women I work with are business owners who are also looking to get into the speaking industry. And they just have not thought about the business side of things, like how do I attract people to my profile? What is it that I need to say? So I'll say to them, look, I can teach you how to find speaking engagements, which I do. But if somebody finds you and then they look you up, which they will, because as an MC, the first thing I do when I'm going to introduce a speaker is I Google them. And if I can't find stuff, like, it really doesn't help me to excite an audience. So I'm just introducing a speaker that's already been selected. If I was an organizer, I know for me, when somebody pitches and says, I'm really good at speaking on like marketing or whatever, I will go and look to see, well, what's their angle? How do they show up? I know what my event type is like. And then I will Google, and there'll be women putting themselves out there, but they haven't done the back work. There's no speaker website. There's no video footage. Even on their existing website, I can't find anything. I go on their LinkedIn profile, and I am really having to work really, really hard to find something that will help me to kind of see them as the speaker that they say that they are. And that's what really has women struggle to go from doing lots of kind of free engagements to doing the paid stuff. Because when you're going out to a cold audience, somebody who doesn't know you, they've never heard of you before, you're approaching them out of the blue, and you're pretty much saying, please consider me to speak on your stage. They're going to want something to corroborate your story that you're a speaker. And if they Google it and they can't find it, right? So say you're running a coaching business, but you speak at the same time, but you've only got a website that focuses on your coaching business. It's like somebody saying to me, it's like me looking for a plumber. Somebody saying, here's a great plumber. They send me to the plumber's website and it's speaking about law. Freaking confused now. I'm confused. Like, what are you, a plumber or a lawyer? Which one are you? So now
Yeah.
I don't believe you're a plumber. Now I'm like, I think I'm going to look for another plumber. And it's not because I think that that you're bad or what. I just can't assess it. And I'm confused. And I think you're really a lawyer. So I want to look for somebody who is a plumber. And that's the kind of hurdle we have to get over. Your online profile's got to speak to the audience that you're wanting to attract. And if it doesn't, then it doesn't work.
Yeah, that's an important point to basically bring some clarity, bring some showreel, bring some information about what's your specialty in the business. Yeah, so that's great. So you are helping so many women to get speakers, MCs, and so on. Tell me about the process. If you are applying some process, or basically what's in the real beginning. Yeah, what's at the real start of it. Do you provide something they can learn for free and start basically assess if it's something for them or not?
Yeah. Have a Facebook group called World Class Female Speakers. It's totally free to
Mhm.
join. I also have oh god, you kind of have to be on my mailing list because I'm the sort of person who's like, this week I'm running another free course, and next week I'm running a free course, and then this week is going to be another program.
Yeah.
Um, so in terms of starting point, where I suggest that people go is that they download the Speaker Marketing Blueprint. And that is effectively me taking how I built my speaking business in 18 months. So I went from unknown. I don't have a big name. I haven't written a book. Like, I'm not that person. So I went from unknown to introducing and interviewing people like Monica Lewinsky, Paul Pullman, who was the CEO of Unilever for like 14 years. Who else did I introduce? Oh, there's a whole bunch of them. Kunal Nair from the Big Bang Theory, international speaking engagements, 2 speaking bureaus representing me. So like literally from 0 to that in 18 months. The Speaker Marketing Blueprint pretty much talks you through how I did that. So it talks you through what I did with my profile and how I managed to build my profile so quickly. You go on my LinkedIn profile right now, I think I have about 83 testimonials. If you go on my YouTube channel, there's another 30 odd. So I have over 100 testimonials from various different people, video and not and written testimonials, which help to build the picture of who Lovelda is and why you'd book me. I speak about how I got my video footage so quickly, how I used it, how I connected in, how what basically the end-to-end process is all there in the Speaker Marketing Blueprint. It's completely free to download. The link I see is on the stage right now. Can you tell? Like, I'm in stage mode, right?
Yeah, you are on stage. You
The
are
link
real
is
and
right here. Look, I've got my fingers in the right place as well, right here.
yeah, perfect. Great. Yeah, definitely. I really encourage all the female speakers to download it and really start their career, yeah, because it's incredible how fast you become an international speaker and MC. So that's a great success. Congratulations.
Thank
Uh,
you.
I really appreciate because it's a great work you are doing on the international stages, and you are bringing it, basically sharing the experience to a lot of women. So tell me, what did you had to overcome so that you could be so successful? What were your feelings? Like, I don't know, for
Oh.
example, first time, stepping on the stage where there were like 4,000 people and you were there alone and speaking to them. It must be some interesting feeling.
So for me, I think I do still get nervous going on stages, and anytime it's a big stage, I have that moment. But for me, I've always been that person who said yes first and then waited until I'm like 2 minutes before and then gone, oh heck, what did I do? Like, that's always been me, right? So the saying yes, I just said yes to everything. Like, yes, let's do it. Yes, let's do it. Yes, let's do it. I think the harder things were, I don't know, with building my speaking business, it's weird. This is probably the simplest business for me to get around. I'd say the hardest bit was the first couple of times I was really negotiating for me. So I worked in sales for years, so the idea of being in that kind of sales conversation was fine. It was the nervousness when I would stretch my price to like a whole nother level, because I always believe pick a price, whatever you feel comfortable with, and then add an extra 20% onto that so that it feels a little bit uncomfortable when you pitch. Like, just start there, whatever that number is. But it was the moments where I would have a gig that was really important to me, to have the conviction of sticking with my price point, even though I could risk losing the engagement because my price point was much higher than what the event organizers had initially budgeted for. And that nervousness of being able to hold the tension, because I think often as women, we kind of hear, oh my gosh, they don't have budget. And then all of a sudden our freaking price just plummets back down to 0 because we heard those words. It was being able to hear those words and ignore it. Like, okay, cool. That's an interesting problem you have. Here's what my fee is. Like, I don't understand what that's got to do with me, but here's where the price is. Because
Okay.
it's like thinking you can go in to buy a Gucci handbag and say, oh, I don't have the money. And then Gucci's going to say, oh, no problem. Let me change the price just for you. They're not. They're not. They're going to keep the price the same. They might give you some payment plans, or they'll tell you come back when you have the money. Like, that is the end of the story. But being okay with the idea that perhaps I might lose some of those engagements because holding my fee was more important, and securing that value and having them think of me as that value was more important than just, we had a saying in sales, like, just dropping your pants. It's when you kind of go from like, this is my fee to like, this is my fee. Like, the fee is like £1,000, and then you drop your trousers and it's now like, it's fine, I can do it for 75. Like, why would you do that? If it's £1,000, it's £1,000. Let them go away and sweat for a bit. I'll guarantee you there's been times that people, for me, have doubled, trebled their budget. They found it somewhere. They've come back with, they want to work with you. They'll come back with something. I've negotiated something off the back of it. Even the one where I introduced Monica Lewinsky, I negotiated hard for that because they did not initially have anywhere near my budget, like anywhere near it. And, we found a middle ground that works effectively for both of us, but they had to come up. I didn't just immediately go, oh my God, you got Monica, that's it. I'm, okay, cool, I'll come for free. Just cover my, no.
Yeah.
That's not how I work.
And that's a fantastic point you made, because it's you have to keep your value. You have to keep your your fees, so that you can negotiate. You can get something in addition to that, but you keep your price. It's fantastic. And so is that the most difficult skill you had to learn over time, or like basically discussing that it's the tension you experience in these moments?
Being okay with that tension. And then the other stuff was some of the stuff behind the scenes. It was really being really focused and very strategic with some of the decisions I made in terms of growing the business. So when you're new to speaking, there's a lot of work that goes in behind the scenes to get those first engagements, to make the most of every single engagement. I see one of the big problems that female speakers have is they kind of go in, they do the gig, and then it's like reset. And I just couldn't play the reset game. So I would go in, I would do the gig, and I would chase, and I would follow up, and I would ask for referrals. And I would, get the testimonial. Like, anytime I had an engagement, I would sit down and write a list of all of the things that I could get from that one speaking engagement. Like, there's video footage, there's photographs, how many testimonials can I get? How many other speakers could I be introduced to? Where can I, push my services perhaps so that I can get more speaking engagements off the back of this? Like, I would literally sit and kind of go, if I just go in, get paid, do this gig and come out, that's not sufficient. I need to go in, do the gig, get paid and come out with so much value that it's easier for me to leverage that to get the next speaking engagement. And that's always where my head was at, that I worked out. It was a lot of work to get one engagement. So when I got it, wow. I was like, ring, like, how much can I get from this one thing? But because I did that, it's how I grew my profile quicker, because I worked out, if I extracted as much as I could from one engagement, then each engagement in the early days meant that my profile would have this leap, right? Because I would go and do it, and it was like, okay, this one's a big stage. They've got great cameras and videographers. So I would have my husband come along with me, and we would have like a whole marketing strategy. I'm like, my Twitters needs to be blowing up. My Instagram feed needs to be blowing up. We'd be doing live streams and stuff behind the scenes. I'd be taking photos and videos, and like all of this is running concurrent to having to be on stage delivering. He's doing little mini live streams. Look at Lovelda, she's on the stage right now. I'm getting every single photograph I can get. I'm networking my ass off, while I'm there. I've got my husband networking on my behalf, because it's just so many different moving parts. But I would sit and think, what do I need? I'd write a list of all of the speakers, and I'd go, these are the ones that I need you to get testimonials from, because their testimonials are really going to help to leverage things. And then I have a whole program of work immediately afterwards to just leverage it and use that as much as possible. I'd upgrade my whole website as a result of it, because I've gone from photos in the pub to photos on a big stage, right? It's a huge leap in your profile when you can get those sorts of engagements. But the problem is most people aren't making enough use of it. So they're not getting to that stage and thinking, what can I get from this? So they're showing up, they're delivering their talk, and they're off the stage. And maybe they've got one photo. The organizer might have a photographer and a videographer. Did they think to ask to get copies of any of that stuff? So I just used everything at my disposal, partially because I just thought, that's just going to make the next one easier. And what I found is that's what built the momentum for me, right? The next one was just that much easier. And then the one after that was easier to get. And it was easier for me to go cold into engagements because now I had enough footage to do a really great show reel where I didn't have any show reel before. First I got a great video and I just used that and I used to send it to organizers and that would convert. And then I got enough footage that I could do a good show reel. So it was the bit of being able to be really strategic and think about all of the stuff that needed to happen behind the scenes and learning how to do a website. And I was scrappy at the beginning. I was super scrappy.
Wow, that's fantastic. But you are using the time and the event very effectively in creating new opportunities and new events. And basically, it's like marketing and sales together, using every second of it to move forward. Perfect. And you are teaching all this in a specialized program, in your signature program. So please tell us something about your signature programs. What you do there, how big is the group, and what they need to learn.
So I have two things to talk about there. So I run masterclasses on a regular basis. One of the biggest ones I do is called the Profitable Speaker Profiles. The next one's actually coming up on the 26th of May. I'll send over a link so you can go to that and have a look at the details for that one. It's 2 hours, really intense, pretty much everything you need to know about how to create a profile as a speaker. And I go deep. I'm like literally going into every single online platform and showing you step by step what needs to be within that. My signature program is then for speakers who are really ready to kind of look for gigs. The big question I get is, I don't know how to find speaking engagements. It is a 3-month program with no excuses. We spend the first 3 weeks literally diving into your niche, like who are you speaking to? Because often there's a gap. I'll find people saying, I want to speak and tell my story. And I'm like, that's really great. There are no storytelling conferences that are going to pay. So we need to figure out what your niche is. It's not a thing, right? You're not going to make money by being a storyteller. So telling your story for what purpose? Who's the audience? What type of people do you want to get? Are you speaking to grow your business? Are you speaking just to be a speaker? Are you speaking in order to get in corporate gigs? Like, where do you want to fit into the market? So I go through 5 different areas of the market and you have an opportunity to really dive deep so that you can get your unique, profitable speaker profile. Like, this is who you niche to, right? After we've done that, we have 2 live sessions. This time around, I'm splitting them out, but effectively, I teach you how to find gigs, like exactly what I do, exactly how you look on Google to find speaking engagements, approach the organizers, all of the tools I've set up behind the scenes to do the follow-up, because it's a pain. It is a total pain. Like, sometimes I'm literally contacting an organizer 4 or 5 times before I get a response. And if I was doing that manually, it would be a problem. So I have all of the tips and tricks that I use. I teach you that. And then you've got 6 weeks, 6 weeks of support. So there are no excuses. So you're going to continue to reach out to these organizers. And when you get a response, then we'll solve the problem. But my approach is, there is no point telling you exactly how to do a detailed pitch and exactly how to respond to this, that, and the other, unless you go and collect the problem for me. So you go out there, you do the outreach, they come back and they ask for something, and I'm there in your corner to help you negotiate it. 8 years of sales experience. I am not scared to hold the tension with a deal. Like, I'm that person, like, let them squirm. The more they squirm, the more I'm like, that's the fee. Right?
Yeah.
I'm not scared of doing that, but it's about, starting to build that sales muscle so that you know what to do. Because when people tell me they want to learn how to find speaking engagements, what they really mean is they want to know how to get booked for paid speaking engagements. And the first part of that is finding the engagements, which, trust me, by the time I'm done with you, by the end of the 4th week, you literally cannot use that excuse again. Like, nobody who's been through this program can tell me they don't know how to find a gig. They can't tell me that. It's not possible. Like, it's not possible. Like, that problem, you can tell me like it's too much work, or you're too bored, or you don't know how to pick, like, but you cannot say you don't know how to find speaking engagements. And generally speaking, by the end of the fourth week, people have got lists of at least 100 to 150 organizers to approach. Like, there's
Wow.
no holes barred going for it. So I'm running that again in September. I'm still working on the sales page for it at the moment. But if anybody's interested, like, just get in touch with me. I'm on Instagram. I'm on, like, just Google my name. I'm not that difficult to find. Or you can send me an email, lovelda@lovelda.com. And I'm more than happy to jump on a call and talk you through specifics of how that program runs in September. But I'd say do profitable profiles first so that you can start to build your profile. And then by the time we launch this, the end of August is when the next one is. I think I said the 26th. I'm still working on the details. Then you are like ready to hit the ground running. And I don't play.
Okay. That's fantastic. It's basically a beautiful guide how you can really get paid and get your first arrangements, and it's fabulous. So what do you think of doing next? What's your vision for your next steps? What would you like to achieve?
So I am actually in the process of launching my own podcast. It should be out the end of this month. Like, this is the first time I'm actually talking about it. I say that it's the first time I'm talking about it with a launch date. I've been working on it for a while. So season 1 is 40 episodes. It's called the Lovelda Show Women of Power podcast. It'll be coming out, I think it's the 26th of May is my current launch date. But yeah, I can drop you a link if you want to join the mailing list for that, so you can have all of the details. Essentially, what I'm doing is getting behind the scenes with powerful women. I have like some incredible conversations with people, and what I see is with women this kind of comparison where we're looking at people who are further down the road, and then we're thinking, shit, I need to be doing what they're doing. And what I do is kind of strip it back so they're all just human, and they share their story, their journey, but in particular what I call their power tools. So their strategies, their tools, their ways of being that have been fundamental to them having this success in their life and in their business. Incredible women from all different walks of life. We're talking about people working in diversity, energy work, marketing, sales, having insane results, and just having that moment where we can peel back where they are now versus where they were when they started, and what that journey was, so that you can see yourselves in them and start to have other role models that you can see the journey, right? Because that comparison can sometimes get us in a space where we start doing what those people are doing now versus being able to see, well, hold on a minute. They had a problem with pricing too. Shit, not them. Not them. Where they are right now. You mean they couldn't? Oh, okay then. So it's laughs and giggles because I only wanted to interview people I could have a huge amount of fun with. But there are so many amazing human moments in the podcast as well. So I'm really excited that that's going to be coming out later on this month.
Wow, that's exciting. So thank you for announcing it here, and we love to put in the link and display it for everyone. Great. So that's something new. And would you be like accepting international hosts from other countries?
Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. This is season 1. So season 1 for me has been my little playground. I love interviewing. I love really kind of getting behind what it is that makes somebody who they are. And so this season was about, it's about a bigger purpose, but I really wanted to do something that I could enjoy. It happened to fall in a time period that we're locked in our houses, so it really gave me something to focus on. I was like, girl, jump on a chat. Let's talk, because I need some human connection time, and I'm just going to go deep. So it's really, I'm looking forward to it kind of coming out. And season 2, I'll be looking for guests for that. So yeah, jump on, sign yourself up so you can find out when it's coming out. And then as soon as it's out, like, subscribe and leave me reviews and all of that kind of amazing stuff. And if you know people who you think would be a great fit for the show, then get in touch.
Wow, perfect. So we will put the links below the video, and that's great. So perfect. So what would you like to achieve in the long term? What's your vision to the future? Like, I don't know, 10, 20 years ahead?
So for me, success really does look like diversity on stages. And I happen to have picked the gender element of diversity and decided to pick up the gauntlet for female speakers. But for me, success looks like me and others being able to see themselves on stages, see themselves in movies, etc. I feel like it's really important that that kind of diversity is always represented. And so I want to be able to be at conferences with senior leaders and be able to see more women on those stages and more people from ethnic minorities on those stages and people with disabilities and people from different sexual backgrounds. Like, I just want to be able to kind of feel like this population on this stage is representative of the population out there. And often the problem is that population on stage is not representative of the wider population. And the big problem with that for me is that therefore the message on that stage does not account for the unique backgrounds of people from different diverse backgrounds. And that's seriously important. Culture plays a part in somebody's success. You know, the unique battles that an individual needs to go through, or the unconscious bias that they're up against, is not represented in any of that conversation, because the conversation is had by people who have no experience or, you know, no ability to connect with those unique differences, right? So how the heck are they supposed to account for it? So for me, I've always been really passionate about a fair, honest, holistic representation of the truth. And it bugs me when what I'm seeing is really not that. It's a few people who are there to represent everybody, and they simply cannot do that effectively because they just do not have the background of all of these other people to be able to fairly represent them. Like, I can't represent mothers. I'm not a mum yet. You know, it'd be really difficult for me to go as a representative of mothers out there in the world. Like, it just would be an unfair position to put me in. And so I think it's unfair to have men representing a female perspective. They can't do it. They don't get it. Like, they don't have the hormones we have. They don't have the stresses we have. Like, they just can't do it. And so for me, the big vision is that balance. And I feel like it's not just on me as an individual. If you have a desire to see that, you've got to be the change you want to see in the world. And so you've got to step up. Like, the world needs you. I also just see it as a freaking opportunity, because when I'm looking at it, I'm going, if there's fewer people who look like me, then that's already like, I'm already unique in the market, just like that. Like, boom, I've got a head start, right? I don't see it as a problem. So I kind of go, you know, it's a harder battle to be one of the first people who was standing in that role and being a representative. There's a lot on your shoulders, and you know, the world needs you to do it. The world needs you to do it.
Wow, that's fantastic. So tell me, along your way, basically, did you experience any terrifying moments and any stressful moments in your career?
Oh, girl, I had so many stressful moments. It's ridiculous. I had somebody have a seizure, like a full-blown seizure in a lunch break once. I was like, this is ridiculous. So you're managing that in the room. The ambulance came. It literally happened in a lunch break, and then straight after lunch, we were just back to normal, like nothing had happened. It was the most surreal thing ever. So that was stressful. I have turned up to gigs before. I had to cancel a gig once because I literally did not have anything. When I say anything, I didn't even know where it was going to be. Like, I knew it was in London-ish or somewhere in the UK. Like, I think it was in or around London it would have been. I had no address. I didn't have a start time. I had nobody to introduce. It was like 6 o'clock the evening before the event. And I just thought, I can't. I just like, I'm out. Like, sorry, Lovelda's quit. I'm not doing this. So that was interesting. That was quite stressful because that morning I was appearing on TV at 6 o'clock in the morning, and then I was going to go from that gig straight across to do this emceeing gig that I knew nothing about. And I remember just having a moment where I think I was sat on a bus in London, and it just dawned on me, I don't have to do this. It was like, I actually don't have to do this. But there was a part of me, it was really difficult because there's a part of me, like, I committed to do this. My invoice hadn't even been paid yet. And normally like nowadays that shit doesn't happen. But I was literally like, I am not committed to this. I'm not paid. I don't know where I'm going. The level of stress I'm going to be under is going to be insane. And often what happens with emceeing is the audience cannot distinguish between the host and the organizer. So I'm just going to look like a fool, right? And they're going to be looking at me like I'm disorganized, but I'm not. Like, I've been chasing this information. I don't have it. So I'm actually not in a position to be able to deliver. So I pulled out. That was tough.
I can imagine. It's yeah. So on the other hand, what was your most memorable event?
The most memorable was, I have a lot of really great memories. Two of the big ones that stick with me at the moment. The first one is the one where I introduced Monica Lewinsky, because for that event, they had told me categorically from the time they booked me that there would be no interview. Like, Monica's team were really strict. There's no interviews. You're just introducing her. She's going to do her talk, and then she's leaving straight away. There's no video. There's no photographs. There's like nothing. So when it was about an hour or 2 hours before Monica was due on stage, somebody came, tapped me on the shoulder and said, she's decided that she's okay to be interviewed, but I know you don't have time. Are you okay to do it? And I was like, I'm okay. Nobody else is having this. Like, it's totally mine. And so I remember being, guided backstage to the dressing room they put her in, and they kind of introduced me to her, and everybody else left the room. And I'm like, holy crap, like, I'm sat in a room with Monica Lewinsky. This is weird. like I just had this out of body experience where I was like, this is just the most insane thing. And so that was kind of cool. So, we introduced her, and then I had to interview conversation with her. And then about 3 days later, the friend who recommended me for the gig tagged me in a post, and it was me and Monica on stage. And it's the only proof I have that it ever happened, because they were not allowed to video it. But they did have a photographer who was allowed to take some photos. So I did get some snaps, and they managed to take one of me and her sat doing that interview. And so that was like a huge moment for me. I was like,
wow,
yes!
Congratulations. It's awesome. And please tell me what people, men or women, who would you like to interview in the future?
Who would I love to interview? I say this on every one of my ones, right? So if she's listening, or somebody who knows her is listening, or one of her besties is here, like, you need to send her to me. Oprah Winfrey. Like, right up there, right at the top. Me and Oprah, we need to have a chat. I'm not sure what I'm asking her yet, because it depends on when the interview is. Like, it'll be different points in time. But me and Oprah, like, I would love that. Like, that's when I'd probably not have any words. I'd need emotional support, spiritual support, something that's going to stop me from doing a total fangirl. Like, she'd probably just get me. That would be it.
Wow, that's awesome. So yeah, let it happen. Yeah, so accept it, and it will come through some way, and you will get that interview. So perfect. I look forward. So yeah, definitely. So I think what's your inspiration in your stage moments? Do you have some, I don't know, someone who you would like to mimic, or who inspires you in the work on the stage, or on the interviews?
When it comes to interviews, I would say I've been really inspired by Oprah. Like, I grew up with Oprah. Mom was watching her all the time. I'll be honest, way back then, I was like, girl, Mom, really seriously, are we putting Oprah on again? She was like this huge, like, Oprah fan. But over the years, when I've really got to see her journey and what she's done, and the impact that she's had, the impact that being with her has had, I'm like, if I can have like 10% of Oprah's success, I'm going to be like, yay, I done made it. But in terms of when I'm on the stage, it's always just been for me to do the best possible job that I can do in that moment. And so I've always seen my job as an MC and a moderator as having three clients. I've got the client who's paid me. And my job with them is to help to keep the event on track, to extract from the conversation the editorial line that they're looking for. There's always a reason why they've pulled specific people into the event. There's something that they want to get from that conversation. So to make sure I've honored that. The second is the speaker. And this is in no particular order, actually. The second client of mine I always think of as the speaker. I just think it's important that that speaker feels like the audience is warmed up for them and it's excited to see them, and that they can have an incredible experience. So they're set up to go on stage and just deliver, right? No speaker wants to go on to that tired, boring audience or a lackluster introduction and they feel like they've got to do a lot of work. Some speakers can pull it back regardless of what's happened before, but others, you know, some of them are really nervous. It might be their first time in front of those audiences or whatever. So my job is to support them in doing the best that they can do on stage, like setting them up for success. And the third is the audience, because without them, there's no frigging event. It just doesn't exist, right? And so to me, I just think I want them to have an incredible time. I want them to get as much value as possible. I want them to be energized and able to take in the next piece of information. So, you know, different scales of events, but sometimes I'll say to organizers, like, we need a little something right now, you know, especially if I'm doing the smaller ones where it might be like kind of back to back. And so I'd say throw on a song. When they come back from this break, people are just depleted. Like they need to get moving. They need some energy in their body. They need something going on so that they can be there to take in the information. Because often what happens is, if that's not considered, you've just got zombies looking at you.
Yeah.
You know, people are just like, I am done. Like, it is late. I have had enough. Like, why am I here? And then they start leaving. So provided I have served all three of those clients really effectively, I feel like I've done my job. And that's always been my motivation to do the best that I can do.
Wow, and that's, I think, the way you are creating experiences out of boring events. So beautiful. So please, do you have a thought or idea, a message for our viewers, which would like to say at the end, and basically leave it with them so that they can concentrate on it and view it, remember it together with you?
Yeah, this one is really for women who have a big vision and aren't really getting the traction that they want to the extent that they want right now. And the biggest piece of advice I can give you is to just take it a step at a time, right? It's not about boiling the ocean, and it's not about having every result right now. But if each day you can just do a little piece that will take you in in the right direction, slow and steady definitely does win the race. And, you know, go big when you can go big. And sometimes, you know what, just getting up and updating your headline on your LinkedIn profile, that's a win. Like, count the little wins, honor those little wins, just each day a little bit towards your result. But the biggest thing for you to focus on is, if a week has gone by and then that becomes several weeks and you are not doing sales and marketing efforts in your business, you don't have a business. Full stop, period, end of story. You need to be having those calls. You need to be putting your name out there. You cannot go weeks and months without doing some sort of sales and marketing activity. And so the problem I see with people not being able to get on stages is they're not looking, they're not doing the work, they're not putting their name out there, they're not contacting organizers. Like, if at the end of the month you have literally contacted 0 organizers to get on a stage, don't complain about not being on the stages. You don't need to contact 100 a day, but each week contact 5 or 10 people. Just put your name out there, do something towards building your speaking business. But if you're not building it, if you're not doing any sales activity or any marketing activity to build your speaking business, you won't have one. That's how we don't get found. But here's the main thing. Because it's so difficult to find women, those who put in the effort, those who build their profile, those who are doing the sales and marketing activities are having incredible results. So it couldn't be easier to get big results right now, because the market is not yet flooded with female speakers. Yet.
Wow, that's great. So thank you very much. It's a great message for all the women out there, and yeah, it's big inspiration because you have done it in such a short period of time. So thank you very much for the interview. Thank you for your ideas, and we will put the links below the video. And yeah, I look forward for, say, I don't know, August or early September to get the information for your signature program and the possibility to learn with you all the art of speaking and moderating on stages. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. This has been absolutely incredible. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you. Bye bye.